In this video, I'll show you how to solve the ALEKS problem called Finding Chemical Formula from a Mole Ratio. This problem is going to give you an incomplete molecular formula. There's a subscript that is unknown, and your job is to figure that unknown subscript out. Now, ALEKS is going to provide you with the number of moles of two of the atoms in the molecule. You may have a molecule that has many atoms in it, but still ALEKS is only going to provide you with the number of moles of two atoms total. Now, what I want you to do for starters is take these two moles that have been provided to you, and I want you to set up a conversion factor using those two numbers. For me, it's 4.5 moles of nitrogen over 8.97 moles of oxygen. It does not matter which one you put on top, which one you put on bottom, just create a fraction using these two numbers. Now, it's important for you to keep in mind that the relative ratio of nitrogen to oxygen for any compound is a constant. So the number of moles of nitrogen and oxygen, the ratio of the number of moles of nitrogen and oxygen is a constant, whether we're expressing it with these numbers here or the subscripts in a molecular formula. So this relationship, this ratio of moles of nitrogen to oxygen is going to be equal to the ratio of the moles of nitrogen to oxygen that are communicated using the subscripts in a formula. So we're going to create another fraction over here. We want to be consistent with the units. So whatever unit you have on top from your first fraction, you're going to keep it on top for the second fraction. So I want moles of nitrogen on top, moles of oxygen on bottom. And in this fraction, I'm going to fill in what I know about these two atoms. I don't know anything about how many moles of nitrogen I have, but I do know that there are 2 moles of oxygen. Now again, you may have more than 2 atoms in your compound, but when you set this fraction up, you're only going to be using these 2 atoms, whatever information was provided to you in the problem. So you're going to be leaving some of those atoms out. Now, all that we have to do is solve for this unknown x. And the way that you solve for this unknown x is just kind of based on how you want to solve this particular math problem. We can do it, the long way by cross-multiplying this fraction. So that would give us 4.50 moles of nitrogen times 2 moles of oxygen is equal to 8.97 moles of oxygen times x moles of nitrogen. We could divide both sides of the fraction by this 8.97 moles of oxygen so that we isolate that x variable. Cross that out like that. Notice that we're also going to cross out the units of moles of oxygen. And if we do the math on this side of the fraction, 4.5 times 2 is 9. So we have 9 moles of nitrogen over 8.97. There's no units in the bottom anymore because those units canceled. That is equal to x number of moles of nitrogen. 9 divided by 8.97 is approximately 1. So we have solved for x, and it is 1. ALEKS wants us to enter in the chemical formula with the subscript completed, and so for me, that would be NO2.